Hello there. I am your host, Dr. Mildred Faye Jefferson, and this is Life Matters, our educational program that is brought to you by the Margaret O'Hara West Roxbury chapter, West Roxbury Roslindale chapter of Massachusetts Citizens for Life. Welcome. And I'm told that we have something new, that we now have a website. And you only need to go to www.lifematters.org. Now, before I introduce our guest, I will read to you the mission statement of Massachusetts Citizens for Life. It will be on the screen so you can read it for yourself, but I always read it again just to remind myself that we're not just a regular program and we're not just about regular activities. In recognition of the fact that each human life is a continuum from conception to natural death, the mission of Massachusetts Citizens for Life Incorporated is to promote respect for human life and to defend the right to life of all human beings, born and preborn. We will influence public policy at the local, state, and national levels through comprehensive educational, legislative, political, and charitable activities. But although our cause is serious, we are people who celebrate life, and one of the ways we celebrate life is trying to do things that will invite others to join us. And nothing could give me greater pleasure than introducing our guest of today, Miss Valerie Mercedes Barbier.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Jefferson?
So nice to see you, Valerie.
Oh, thank you very much.
And Valerie is our 2006 Massachusetts State National Right to Life Jane B. Thompson Oratory Contest champion. So she is our 2006 State Oratory Contest champion. And it's my delight to welcome her back again. Now, since you were here last time, quite a little bit has happened to you. I think as we were leaving last time, I think I mentioned to our wonderful crew that you were going to try out for the American Idol.
Yes.
How did that go?
It went all right. It was in Boston last year, and there were a lot of people, and fortunately it was kind of raining, so we luckily had brought our umbrellas.
And it must have been a little bit cooler.
Oh, it was.
So that the crowd didn't get you all hot and bothered?
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit cooler, but I'd say that the wait was about 8-10 hours or so.
Well, that's nothing. I've heard some people had to wait 2 or 3 days.
Oh, yeah. Some people were trying to camp out, but the police would kind of stop them because it was just getting kind of too much.
Yes. Well, now, you also tried out, didn't you, for one of the beauty pageants?
Oh, the Massachusetts Teen USA.
Wonderful.
Yes. I was one of the contestants for that, and it was cool. It was really exciting. It was definitely different. I've never done something like that before. Yes. So it was definitely a new experience, and I liked how they would give scholarship money and stuff like that to contestants who would actually win it. But it was still really fun.
Well, all of that is valuable experience for the future, because I don't know exactly what it is going to be, but for whatever it is, we want you to be carrying our banner out visibly or in your heart. So we want you to get as much useful experience as possible. But now, you've also been graduated from high school.
Right. Yes, I just graduated from high school, and I graduated on June 4th.
Yes.
So from there, I'm going on to Trinity in Hartford, Connecticut, and I'm going to be studying pre-med and political science.
Pre-med and political science, what a wonderful combination. And you know, I say that because there are certain footsteps that I want you to walk in. Because
right, because I know you're
part of our secret weapons for the future.
Yeah, I know it's going to definitely be something really hard to tackle. I know it's going to probably take away a lot of my social life for a while.
Yes,
doing those subjects,
indeed.
But, yeah.
But the rewards come later, and the rewards come in doing what you can find fulfilling and doing the things that will let you make a difference in the world. Now, you also had an opportunity to go to the National Right to Life Convention because that's where our oratory contest finals are held. Now, did you enjoy the convention? Did you get to see other things and meet people?
Oh, I definitely enjoyed the convention. I'd say one of the best things is like you get to meet new people from all over the country and who all share basically the same view on pro-life. And so it's really interesting. It's always fun to meet those new kids, and then you've got the whole contest experience where it's always hard to have to memorize about 8 minutes worth of speech, but it's always still nonetheless, it's fun for the while.
Did you, what of the convention outside the oratory contest did you find interesting? Did you get to attend any of the workshops, or did you, the general sessions are usually the only thing I really have an opportunity to participate in because our conventions are reunions, and I see so many people that I haven't seen for years when we have traveled all over the country and to so many different places. But I thought the general sessions were especially interesting. Did you find it so?
Oh, I definitely enjoyed the workshops and the sessions. I got to meet Mr. Schindler, who is Terry Schiavo's brother.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely very nice to actually speak with him. I'd met him in the previous convention, but this time we got to speak more one-on-one.
Yes, got to talk with him rather than just saying hello in passing.
Right, and I enjoyed that he had a workshop on his sister, Terry Schiavo, and then I also liked the workshop, the session where they introduced a lot of like new things, like they were thinking about movies and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I definitely thought that was probably one of the better parts of the convention.
Excellent. Now, how do you go about choosing a topic when you decide or when you're preparing a speech for a competition like this? Well, first of all, I should tell our audience something about the contest. The National Right to Life Jane B. Thompson Oratory Contest is open to junior and senior pro-life high school students across the country, and each state has its own separate state contest. The rules are established by the National Right to Life Committee's Oratory Contest Committee, and these are the rules that must be followed throughout the time. But within that framework, it gives the states the opportunity to create what I hope every state will eventually do. To my great dismay, we have not yet had more than 25 states participate in any given year. Maybe one year we got up to 26, but I won't be happy until we have all 50 states participating. Because if you can imagine 50 states sending students onto the campuses all over the country, 50 states that are sending students who are not only very capably presenting their own pro-life views, but able to teach their peers what they didn't even know they needed to know. That would be a valuable contribution and weapon that the impact of which we cannot even dream of or imagine now. So Valerie, you're going to be part of that vanguard, part of that flood going onto the campuses, not only able to defend your own pro-life views, but to help other people learn things. And you were saying it's difficult to memorize a speech, but the practice you get for this contest will really serve you well along the line, because in political science, in case you take law classes, in spite of computers and handhelds and all of these other aids, you really have to do a lot of memory work. You need to have it right there in your brain so you don't have to worry about whether the power is down or whether your battery is down. It just is there and you can bring it forward. So it will give you good experience along that line. But the speeches have to run 5 to 7 minutes. If they're shorter than 4 minutes, they're disqualified. If they're longer than 8 minutes, they're disqualified. And the subjects are abortion, infanticide, euthanasia, stem cell research, which includes cloning. And in the abortion discussion, we have always included abstinence and all of the related issues with abortion. Euthanasia, of course, is the full range. And this focus on the life issues is to make sure that people have a solid grounding in every reason why you defend the sanctity of life ethic. Because many people can speak from the religious or the moral standpoint, and the very foundation, of course, is a moral consideration. But there is nothing, there's no area in which there is not impact in this willful destruction of life. And I always say that when someone is more beautiful inside than out, it's very easy for them to speak about the moral issues, because very often they have fewer temptations than those who present a more beautiful exterior. But when you find someone who has a beautiful exterior and a beautiful interior, who is standing in the marketplace defending moral views, I think it gets a little more attention. Because after all, we see beautiful flowers and you want to go over and look at them closer, or you want to smell their bouquet. So it's only natural. The more attractive the packaging, the more inviting it is to see what's in it. So that I've always been so delighted to see how you have very conscientiously pursued becoming more and more capable of defending your pro-life views. But I know everybody is as excited and interested as I was to hear what your speech would be. So before we run out of time, I will turn everything over to you so you may present your state championship winning speech, and you may read your title too so that I won't give it for you.
Okay. Abstinence, the unpopular choice. It was a small box that the police officer carried while leaving Brighton High School a few weeks ago. It was a black box with a dead newborn baby inside that awakened a multitude of thoughts and memories that had been buried deep in my mind and heart. One that brought forth emotions I decided to ignore during my years of high school. The police were called because the newborn baby was found inside a toilet in the girls' bathroom. When the police arrived, the baby had already died. The principal informed the authorities that the 8 students pregnant at the time still were when the unfortunate event took place, so they didn't have the slightest idea of who was responsible. Obviously, the culprit did not know about the Safe Haven Bill signed into law in Massachusetts, or her disregard for human life was so callous that it showed she didn't care. Or maybe, just maybe, she panicked. What is the correlation between abstinence and abortion? They may seem so unrelated at times that even I have failed to make a close connection between the two of them. But when the United States has the highest teen pregnancy rate of all industrialized countries, with 10% of 13-year-olds and nearly 20% of 14-year-olds saying they've had sex, it becomes clear in how the failure to promote abstinence leads to young girls getting pregnant and many having abortions. A friend of mine, a classmate, stopped me in the middle of the hallway at the beginning of our junior year. She told me she needed to talk to me, that she needed to talk to someone she could rely on. She looked very stressed and anxious. Finally, after a moment of silence, she told me she had an abortion over the summer. She didn't really want to, but her parents had threatened to kick her out of the house if she didn't get rid of the baby. She was 6 months pregnant at the time, with a healthy boy. Her boyfriend ended the relationship and didn't return to school. The summer had been a nightmare. She couldn't sleep from crying all night long. She hated her mom for taking her to the abortion clinic, but mostly, she hated herself for not having the courage to protect her baby and not having waited to have sex. Part of me wanted to reach out to her, to get her past it, but at the moment, it was difficult to even sympathize because I couldn't help but think of the baby whose life was discarded in the trash. The worst part, she told me, was just a few months after, she didn't feel any more pain, nor love, or hate. She was simply numb. After this incident, and after a few of my friends had started to experiment sexually, some with their own gender, I realized how pervasive the issue of sex truly was. Even a friend of mine started to be sexually active, despite always going to church and having a religious education. What was most shocking was that some of my friends that had been previously pro-life found it inconvenient to feel that way, since they were now living a more sexually active life. One friend in particular told me that abortion no longer seemed like such a big deal, and that as long as it wasn't used as a birth control method, it seemed acceptable. The grim truth, however, was just 1 year ago, her views had been quite the opposite. This senior year was probably my hardest year of high school, not because I felt pressure to fit in, but because by the end of the year, I felt alone in almost every respect. I found it difficult to talk with most of my friends when the common interests we once shared had become almost polarized. Parties had changed. What had once been a time of fun, of hanging out and playing games, became nothing more than a drinking gathering, where I'd see a kid passed out, or others going to dark rooms or closets to hook up. The strange thing was that despite being in the presence of my friends, I felt alone, almost as if I didn't recognize them anymore. In some, their change in character and conduct had been so sudden I was stunned. Luckily, I had my best friends back to lean on, so whenever the night became uncomfortable, we'd ditch the party and go for a movie. Today's youth has come across an unfortunate belief that virginity is an unattractive, immature aspect of life. As a result, our brothers, sisters, and friends have become victims to what is now the most highly advertised, promoted subject in our country: sex. Once described as the physical and spiritual union between a man and a woman that love each other, the way God intended it, has become nothing more than a meaningless act of lust. We are bombarded with so many images and notions of sex, whether it be on TV, the web, magazines, or music, that it is of no surprise that most of us have become desensitized to it. When sex becomes a mere act of fornication, the creation of life in itself becomes trivialized, because the created baby is merely an accident, an inconvenience, no longer an expression of love. Many teens see abortion as an easy way out of the responsibility of bringing a child into a world where such love did not exist. I started working at an after-school program for elementary students this year. It was depressing how these 6- and 7-year-olds knew so much about sex. I still cannot forget the day a 6-year-old girl used vulgar sexual remarks in her conversation with me. I was disheartened by what she knew, and how this tow-headed little girl had lost much of the innocence that is fundamental to childhood. Many thoughts came to my mind, like a tornado sucking me in. Images of friends, boys and girls in middle school competing to be the most popular. Boys demanding more and more from 12- and 13-year-old girls. Media and peer pressure on the boys, forcing them to play adult games. Kids scared and insecure, pretending to be men. Thousands of regrets. Once a child rushes the premature threshold of adulthood, there is no turning back. There is no bleach for innocence. Once boys and girls blindly throw themselves into the troubled waters of sex, there is no safe shore anymore. So many stories, so many wasted childhoods, luring in the dark world of immature sex, lost in the maze of the dead-end alleys of fear, homosexuality, exploitation, alcohol, drugs, and abortion. We teenagers are in a way victims of our circumstances, but we must take responsibility for our own lives. It is no longer enough for us to be pro-life. We must be pro-life in our choices as well. What I mean by this is that one cannot guarantee that a boy will take the pro-life route if he gets his girlfriend pregnant unexpectedly, or that the girlfriend will either. The state of mind is always different in a moment of panic, when fear takes over beliefs and values. Though one can have the honest intentions to act pro-life in a given situation, it is not guaranteed. And because of that, we all, especially if we are pro-life to begin with, must avoid the temptation to throw away our ideals and principles. Indeed, there is a correlation between abstinence and abortion, where being abstinent avoids the possibility of ever having to change one's moral values and commit the regrettable choice of ending life.
I'm sorry we don't have an applause track, but I would press the button and bring up the applause. That was wonderful, Valerie. And I'm only sorry that you are now finished with high school, but I hope other students who see this program and those who are told about our program will want to enter the contest. All they have to do is to call our office, the Massachusetts Citizens for Life office, 617-242-4199, extension 221, and leave a message for Dr. Jefferson and tell us that you are a junior or senior in high school and you are interested in entering the Oratory contest in 2007. As you can tell, since we're introducing this year's champion, the contest is ended for this year. But January 1st, 2007 will begin the new contest. I will be very happy to send you the rules for this year because I doubt that they will change a great deal between now and next year, so that someone who is viewing the program now or within the next few months may be sitting here with me next summer when we both will have come back from the National Right to Life Oratory Contest Finals, which will be at the National Right to Life Convention, which will be in Kansas in 2007. And then if you don't make it in 07, you may make it in 08 when we go back to Washington. Whenever there's a presidential election, our National Right to Life Convention is in Washington. So Valerie, I hope when you get to Trinity, you will call back or write to your friends at Natick High School and tell them that when they get to be juniors and seniors, that you hope that they are going to follow in your footsteps.
I will.
And I always like to tell the story that Valerie and her brother Oliver represent the very best in sibling rivalry, because her brother Oliver was our champion in 2004. And I think as soon as she read his contest rules, she herself decided that she was going to enter even though she was only 9th grade and would not be eligible. But when she did reach eligibility, she did. I may be wrong about the year. I think it was 2003, because as I recall, someone else came in the interim. It was a wonderful experience having you and your mother there at the convention, and I hope she got a lot out of it. I think she did, because in our last board meeting for Massachusetts Citizens for Life, she did comment that she had had the opportunity of meeting many people and that she had found the visit very useful. Well, I'm upset because we don't have enough people from Massachusetts attending the National Right to Life conventions. So I don't expect too many to get there next year in Kansas, but there will be no acceptable excuse for 08 when it's back in Washington. And I would like to see 1 or maybe 2 buses from Massachusetts headed down to Washington for the National Right to Life Convention 08. Now that you have been through this experience and are heading off to college, is there anything you would like to tell your oncoming high school students or those who are about to enter college with you?
Just that, like, if you are nervous, probably a lot of people are facing the same situation as you are. And so try not to be nervous. Usually there's like Facebook and you can usually meet people there. College students are going to be entering the same grade and class as you are. So that's usually an easy and quicker way to make friends fast, and you can get to know them ahead of time. So there's nothing to worry about.
Well, now you have it directly from someone who's undergoing the experience. She says there's nothing to worry about, and that really is true, because you prepare yourself and you look forward to the new experience. I must admit, I was always the first to get back to school and the very, very last one to leave. So if I could have just started school all over again, I perhaps would be in school now. But you do have to finish eventually, and you have to go out and take your own place and responsibility. But you know, Valerie, I don't tell you or other young people coming along that the world is waiting for you to come out and solve the problems, because I frankly don't want them just dumping on you. Every generation has its own responsibility, and every generation must carry it. Thank you so much for joining us on Life Matters. I am your host, Dr. Mildred Fay Jefferson, and my guest, Miss Valerie Barbier, who was the 2006 State Oratory Contest champion. Remember, the defense of the right to life is not the cause of a special few, but the cause of every man, woman, and child who cares not only about his own family, but the entire family of man. So join us next Thursday at 2:30 p.m. for Life Matters. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Valerie.
You're very welcome.